Okay, we are now live on YouTube.
And we're on our site. We can start there.
Okay, great. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Queens Borough President hybrid land use public hearing. This hearing is taking place both in person in the Borough President's conference room at 120-55 Queens Boulevard in Kew Gardens and on our website at www.queensbp.org. I am Vicki Garvey, Planning Director for Borough President Donovan Richards, and I will be chairing this hearing on his behalf. For those who wish to testify virtually and haven't already pre-registered to do so, please visit www.queensbp.org/land use. If you are attending our public hearing in person, please see the receptionist to sign up for public speaking time if you have not already done so. Please note your opportunity to speak will follow those who are pre-registered. Written testimony is welcome from those who are unable to testify. All written testimony must be received by 5 p.m. today and may be submitted by email to planning2@queensbp.org or by conventional mail sent to the office of the Queens Borough President at 120-55 Queens Boulevard, room 226, Kew Gardens, New York, 11424. I am joined by my planning staff, Lisa Atkins, who will proceed how this public hearing will proceed.
Thank you, Vicki. This morning's, the public hearing shall be conducted in the following manner. The applicant will be called to give a description of the zoning action requested, an explanation of the proposed project, and respond to any questions from the chair. The floor will then be open for public speakers. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. A signal will be heard, and a notice will be given and displayed when the 3 minutes have completed. When you are called, please identify yourself for the record, and if you are formally speaking as a representative or member of a group, the calendar number or application number you are speaking about, and whether you are for or against the item. Then you may begin your testimony. At the discretion of the chair, if there are a large number of speakers on any particular item, it may be put on second call. Speakers for and against the item will be called on an alternating basis. Please note, if you are testifying virtually, you must keep your camera on and properly identify your name on Zoom. If at any point you have any technical issues, please let our planning staff know in the chat and we will assist you. Thank you for your cooperation.
You have just been advised on how the proceedings of this hearing will be conducted. Please keep your comments focused on the application you're speaking about, and please stay within the allotted 3 minutes. When you hear the signal, please wrap up and finish your comments. The chair reserves the right to ask speakers for clarifications or further information regarding the applications or comments. Lisa, please call the first calendar item.
Calendar items number 1 and 2 are related items. ULURP number 230012 ZMQ and ULURP number N230013 ZRQ. The applicant is 42-18 Development LLC, Affected Community Board number 1. Representative, you may begin.
Thank you. My name is Eric Palatnik, and I am representing the applicant in this proceeding zoning application. And I'd like to share the screen if I have permission to do so.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. So the application that we're here for today is an appropriate rezoning of an intersection in Astoria section of Queens, which is the intersection of Newtown Road. It happens to be on 31st Avenue. It's also at the intersection of 42nd Street and at the intersection of 43rd Street. It's quite an interesting intersection, and it has not been approved upon with any substantially new improvements within the latter part of the last century. We are proposing to take a site that is currently and historically been used as an entertainment venue, a club, and things like that. And we are asking to take a one-story building and rezone the property, which is currently zoned R5, which is not truly appropriate at this intersection, to an R6 rezoning. If it were to be acted upon in a positive fashion, it would result in the building you see in front of you, which is a 6-story building, contains 35 apartments. It would have 9 of which would be permanently affordable pursuant to the city's mandatory inclusionary housing program, and 12 parking spaces would be accessible in the cellar, accessible through the side street on the far left of what you're looking at on the rendering right here. I'll take you through the application as quickly as I can right now, or as efficiently as I can, and then open it up to any questions you may have. It shows you the property and the description that I just gave to you. You could see it's rather colorful. It's developed upon now with a 2-story building in one part and a 1-story building in the other portion of it. You could see there Coco, restaurant and lounge. That's the portion I was speaking to a moment ago. There's also a business in there now that's a health-related business. And on the left side, you can see there's an existing 2-story building, which is a residential building, which a family lives in, which the owners are friendly with, and they've been communicating with quite clearly, explaining to them what they are going to be doing, and that family is looking for a bigger space to move into anyway, so they will not be dislocated by this action. This is all occurring in a very amicable fashion. The lower right picture you see is the back end of the restaurant club that I mentioned. It loops around in an L-type shape around the building. This slide shows you, I keep scrolling, I apologize. I mentioned at the beginning that we're at the crux of a very, very interesting intersection. The middle point of that intersection where those 2 zoning lines meet, which you can see my cursor moving around, that's the middle of a 5-way intersection, which you'll see some aerials of in a minute. It's got scattered land uses around it that I think are not representative of the true character of the community, including automotive uses. One that I call a New York City special pit stop shop, which is one of those tire shops that you can go to on the side of the road and get anything repaired at all hours of the day. The rezoning, we think, will create, contrary to that, a very positive environment on our side of the street. We'll show you more about that in a second. The far left is the R5 zoning district. That's what we're showing you. That's the existing zoning. The right side shows you the R6A zoning district. Should call to your attention a secondary action that we're doing as a part of the R5 to the R6A is shortening the C overlay that extends over the block that's in the middle there. You can take a look on the block between where the property is, where my cursor is. That C overlay extends an abnormal distance of about, I think, 150 feet. Most times it's rezonings, commercial overlay should be 100 feet. So that's a corrective action that's being taken to correct one of the many things that needs to be amended from the 1961 zoning resolution, which is when the original zoning dates from. The building that we're trying to create is shown here in the lower left corner in a block format for you. It takes away all the glitz and it just shows you basically contextually how it will blend. I like to use that line, that it will blend with everything around it. You'll see in the lower left depiction, taller buildings on the right side of the screen. I'm going to show you visuals of those. We're very similar and analogous to those buildings. Where there are smaller buildings around us, which you could see around us here, the building has been thoughtfully designed to step down to accommodate those buildings, both because the client and the applicant want to, and also because zoning calls for it. So it's 2 of those things. The far right side of the screen here shows you all the stats. It's not that exciting it's not the Empire State Building we're creating here. It's a 38,000 square foot, 65-foot tall building that I said before will have 35 units, 9 of which will be affordable, 12 parking spaces. It has been designed to incorporate many of the green features that you speak about within your the land use rubric for city and state projects. I've reviewed that thoroughly, and so is the architect. So as we're going through it, I'll point out the roof, I'll point out the bike parking, I'll point out where the curb cuts will be. We are going to be including electrical vehicle charging within the building. So things like that I'll keep going through with you. The ground floor commercial space, like I said at the outset, the owners are local people. They've owned this property for decades. and they're in the wellness business, which of course is, I could use a little more wellness. And that's one of the businesses that's proposed to be at the ground floor. They've ran numerous successful businesses all around Queens, focused on the wellness industry, and I don't know if industry and wellness go well together. The wellness world. This is really just giving you more of everything that I just said. So I'm stealing my own thunder as I move here. So I'm going to skip through this. This starts to show you everything I was talking about before. Everything shaded in blue shows you the tall buildings that are around us. The ones at the bottom of your screen are the ones that I mentioned at the beginning when I was showing you the taller ones. And then you see our site, and then you see the smaller buildings around us. If you look at the smaller buildings around us, I want you to pay attention to them, because I'll show you in the design how we're maintaining a relationship with them, particularly the ones that are in the bottom of the screen. We'll maintain a one-story portion right up against them. They're not really changing. And the other side, there'll be a step down towards them. So we think that they'll be well respected in the proposal, and that the height of the building is no different. We're asking for, or we're proposing a rezoning that will allow for a 65-foot tall building. I think you can see clearly that that fits squarely within the mark of all of the heights of the taller buildings in the community. And how are we going to get housing unless we don't build the housing? And that's why the building has to be a little bit taller. I'll call to your attention at the intersection a couple of different things, just so you're familiar with it. Directly across the street from us is the 24-hour pit stop shop I was talking about. That's where you can go get your tire changed. If you ever have a flat tire and you don't know where to go in the middle of the night, I think you can go there and get it fixed. As a city, I think we could do better than the pit stop shops. That's across the street, but we're not rezoning that. We're rezoning our side of the street. We're also rezoning across. If you follow our site where I'm moving the cursor right now, there is a gas station there. That is being rezoned also. They were originally a part of the application. They pulled out 2 years ago. For sake of your own knowledge, what it takes to get a rezoning through is anywhere from 2 to 4 years. So it took a long time to get the rezoning through. When they got about halfway through, COVID hit. At that point, car repair business in there started going through the roof. They started doing very well with the car repair business. So they decided, it's a very well-respected car repair and gas station owner there, and they decided to keep that business in place. And they did not want to pursue the rezoning. Even though it is being rezoned, they will be able to stay in business as a grandfathered use. Or, we really should be saying grandmothered use at this point. I don't know why we're saying grandfathered. I'm going to just throw that out there. Having said that, it is a historical use that will be maintained on the property. So that's this slide. Kind of gives you the whole story here, that slide. Scroll down a little bit here. This gives you more of the story, all right? So look, the pit stop shop. Was I kidding about the pit stop shop across the street? I mean, I keep pointing to that because unless we create housing and create new developments that attract new people to come, we're going to keep the same old, same old, same old. And when I see that jammed into the middle of a beautiful neighborhood, all I'm seeing is that owner is not being given the opportunity to make a better return. So that's why they're keeping it like that. And if they were given the chance to do so, they would take it, and we would organically see more housing be created. Not to say they don't have a good business there. I just think it's indicative of the corner and what we're trying to change on our site. The intersection is very wide, could accommodate the larger building, and this just shows you pictures of everything I just spoke about. This slide, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit to pick up some speed. Again, we're just trying to show you the heights of buildings here, which I think you get the gist of. The intersection, just want to call out that, that if you did vote to support this application, which I hope you would, which the community board did, and I should call that out, that I spent 3.5 years, 4 years at the community board, meeting with them every year. We met a couple times a year. We went through things. We tweaked the project to accommodate questions wherever we could. And that's how come we walked out of the community board with a very overwhelming support from the community planning board. And I just wanted to let you know that that was not just one night at the community board. Going back to this, here's the intersection. 90 feet wide. It's a 5-way intersection. You can see the gas station I spoke about at the bottom. That'll be rezoned. Our site at the top. And it's hard to see here where I am. This gives you a good idea for the building of how it's going to be set up. You're seeing on the top left, 1 story, 15 feet. That's the back portion against the homes I called out earlier, where I said that's not really changing. You see on the right, 4 stories, 45 feet. That's next to the building on the side where I said the family's moving out. We're kind of stepping down. And you can see that illustrated for you in the lower right corner of the screen right here. And that just shows you to it if you were in a helicopter or whatever looking over it. The building itself, not the most exciting section, so I'm going to skip over it. The building, the MIH units, It's broken down. It could change, but this is basically what you're getting here. You're dealing with not that many apartments. So this has been the conversation at the community planning board. I kind of add some animation to some of my applications, for better or for worse. And a lot of conversation came up and said, hey, dig deeper on the affordability. And I said to them, hey, the banks are all collapsing, interest rates are through the roof, and there is no 421. These are real arguments. When you sit down and you do these spreadsheets on these buildings, sometimes your money is better off put into a CD, certificate of deposit, at Dime Savings Bank. The climate right now to build is difficult. We were able to make it work here due to the longstanding ownership of the property. But really, just to let you know, without that 421, if you're not hearing it enough, I have to tell you, it's difficult. This is not a slam dunk to create this housing. So the affordable mix that's being provided here, which is being provided entirely on the back of the private developer, and the cost of which are going to be borne by the future residents of the building. That's who will share. The market rate rents in the building are going to help to alleviate the burden of the affordability. So we're hoping for a 421. I can't say it enough. If you ever need anybody to come to speak to anybody about it or with you or get people to go, we're happy to support it. I say that because the amount of affordability that's been provided here is the bare minimum, is the maximum that can be provided. And that's why we are where we are. We were asked at the community board to provide more affordable housing by some people. I imagine the conversation will come up again. And I'd implore the borough president to, if you support the application, to seriously take a look at that discussion and understand the real world constraints that are going on right now, and how difficult it is for somebody in the marketplace to risk everything and sign on the dotted line to build a building and create the affordable housing and make sure everything makes a buck. So that's why we are where we are, and we're happy to talk about that more. The good news of the affordable housing is we are fully compliant with the MIH. We're just not going above and beyond the minimum requirement. So we're providing the complete mix at 60% AMI. We're just not going deeper than that. Sustainability. This was everything you spoke about in your plan, as far as having high efficiency heating and cooling, electrical car charging. There'll be solar panels on the roof. We're planning on incorporating a green roof. There'll be bicycle parking in the cellar. We're going to try and keep that bicycle parking separated and closed off, as you had suggested, and try and provide even more bicycle parking. And none of the green measures are depicted here, but this would be the area that in which on the rooftop that it's going to be. It's going to be either a white roof or a green roof. I don't think Mr. Caliendo's office has decided yet. This area here is meant to be the sole recreation area that will be open to the tenancies within the building. And that is, I think, these are the people that own the property. They've been here, as I said, for decades. So that is our presentation. I'd be happy to go back into it and go into any slide you may see. And I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Eric. That was a very comprehensive presentation, and you really touched on a lot of the questions that I was going to ask. So I do.
Steal your thunder.
No, that's great. So I do want to clarify because it does look like you either added more 2 and 3 beds or you changed the mix a little bit. Did you listen to the community board in terms of adding some more 2 and 3 bedrooms?
Yes. That was in a very early on conversation with the community board, was about changing the unit mix. So the unit mix that's been presented is the result of their input. And that's why you won't see any commentary in their resolution about that. We've literally, I think we crushed, if I can say so myself, I think we crushed every single component of this application. The only thing we screwed up on was we didn't see a banking crisis, we didn't see increase in interest rates, and we didn't see the death of the 421. But as far as the social components of this programming goes, and the communication with the community board, I think this is a good example of a winning ULURP when everybody, communicates. I would have liked if the time was quicker, but if we would have, the way everybody communicated was phenomenal.
And for the record, can you clarify what solar ready means in terms of solar panels or photo?
Is that Jerry Caliendo is the architect, is designing the building to accommodate the solar panels on the roof right now. So because the technology is so changing every single week. I'm sure you saw the mayor's new initiative now that just changed, is proposing to change a lot of the regulations, the zoning regulations, to even accommodate more progressive zoning, climate change related items. So Jerry, I've gone back and forth. When I saw your presentation, I said to the architect, I said, please put more on your plan. And they said to me, we're not putting more on our plan. They said, because this stuff is changing monthly. They said, as soon as we get this building built and we go to the Department of Buildings to file for the Department of Buildings, at that point, whatever technology is the state of the art at that point is what we're going to put on that building. So that's the intention for everything. And the building is intended to be electric. So we're trying hard to come up to date with everything. The bicycles, the electrical charging, resiliency is not an issue here, so we don't need to touch that. The food composting and agriculture is probably the only thing on your list as far as creating a place for that. I don't know if we've really been able to think of anywhere to put that into, but maybe we could, as the city is changing their garbage pickup, it appears as if there's all that discussion I'm reading about now. Maybe that composting is something else that we could talk about. And that's our presentation.
Great, that would be great. And last question, within the letter that Community Board 1 had sent with their vote, there was a line talking about a public plaza that was dropped from the rezoning that was originally mentioned in 2020.
Yeah, that was the gas station site I mentioned.
Okay.
With boom during COVID, so he dropped out. Now he's very well liked. The automotive service station. So he has a very large, it's a larger piece there with a big triangle. So the original thought when that application first came together, and this was pre-COVID, was to create some kind of public amenity at that space. That since has been dropped because that building's not being created. So that was an original discussion. And when that applicant, there's a co-applicant pulled out of the application, we, in tandem with discussions with the city, decided it would be better in a more comprehensive land use plan to keep their property in, but then no commitments could be made as to any plaza. So that's why the plaza is not involved in this application, but the property is.
Understood. And then last question, because we ask this for all of our applicants, what are your MWBE and local hiring goals for this project?
The MWBE, what we're proposing to do, the gym business that they operate is applying right now for an MWBE status. They're very inclined to focus upon that. They're hiring. They have not yet started to meet with people, but they will be including minority women-owned businesses within their hiring practices. They'll also be locally sourcing most of their contracting and most of their labor. So they're going to try to do everything local, and they are make the pledge to commit to using minority women-owned business enterprises in their development.
Thank you so much, Eric. At this time, I don't have any other questions, and I don't believe we have anyone. Actually, we do have someone attending the public hearing. I'm going to allow them to speak in case they would like to publicly testify. Okay, it looks like they are not responsive. It is possible that they are calling in to listen to the public hearing. So since there are no other public speakers on these items, the hearing is closed. So thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope everyone has a great day. Our next scheduled hybrid land use public hearing is June 1st, 2023, starting at 9:30 a.m.